Hi, and welcome to the Silicon Insider Podcast. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good, Michael. Hello.
Things are going well?
Yes,
What's the
yes.
news today?
So you and I are talking on Thursday night, just after kind of the buzzsaw of NVIDIA earnings, SpaceX IPO, and thousands of AI-related layoffs all at the same time. So if I sound a bit caffeinated, it's been kind of a crazy 48 hours leading up to right now.
Well, NVIDIA did pretty well, didn't it? I mean, their numbers are
Yeah,
good.
they really did. It's interesting to see these AI related layoffs where companies like Meta are saying, we're moving just everybody into AI, and NVIDIA coming out and saying, hey, the AI business is really good. Our revenue doubled over the last year. And what a last year that was. And it's still doubled. And it's just been, we are in the AI economy. I don't know how else to say this.
We really are. And well, we've got let's do a little post-mortem over what happened last week before we get into this week. So the jury rejected Elon Musk's claims against OpenAI. Sam Altman appears to have won, but then the Wall Street Journal today said Elon won. And it's because apparently the jury didn't decide for or against either one. It basically said the statute of limitations had run out. Is that was that just a jury doing an easy way out? I mean, they only met for what, like 22 hours total. That's not even enough to assign seats and introduce yourselves. So was that just a quick, let's get out of here? We don't want to mess with this.
Well, it's interesting because I had to consult lawyers. I mean, there were people on the front lawn of the courthouse that morning, doing their podcast or doing whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, the jury's back. And they went less than 2 hours. People are scrambling back into the courtroom only to find out that indeed they said, well, Musk brought the case too late, which begs the question. And I haven't found anyone to answer this. Should they have even gone forward, with this in the first place if the statute of limitations had run out?
Right.
But what tells me that Musk actually lost this is that the jury came back with its decision, and the judge said, you know what, you're right, he gets nothing. And so the jury was there as an advisor in this case and said, well, okay, statute of limitations, Musk cannot win. And then the judge stepped forward and said, you're right, we're done. He's out. He doesn't get any money. And so she clearly agreed, not just with the statute, but that Musk shouldn't get any money. And so Musk might try to bring this back again, but he's got big fish to fry with the upcoming,
Yeah,
SpaceX IPO.
he can
Yeah,
let
we're
us,
going to
he
get
can
it.
let his new valuation keep him warm.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was a strange case to begin with. And even while I was in court hearing the arguments, I was thinking, really, other than trying to take down OpenAI and take down his arch rival, Sam Altman, what is Musk doing here with this case? And so it's almost like after 3 weeks of, some entertaining, some feisty testimony, the world just keeps going along as it is. And now both Musk's company and Altman's company are prepping IPOs.
Well, do you think Musk tried this to try to damage OpenAI right before their IPO?
I think he tried to damage OpenAI and to damage them maybe because he thought they should be a nonprofit instead of a for-profit. But this came up a lot during his testimony was, hey, if a nonprofit AI company is so important to you, how come the first thing you did after leaving OpenAI was to take your wealth, which is the biggest wealth in the world, and start a for-profit AI company yourself?
Yeah.
And that came back over and over again.
All the while Musk is saying, oh, the world lost a great charity because OpenAI went private.
Right. And OpenAI still has a charitable wing. You've seen this many times before from eBay and HP, companies that set aside usually some of their equity and they say we have a charitable foundation. But look, job one is to make money. And that's where OpenAI is right now.
Yeah, eBay, if I remember being in those early meetings, they set aside a charity at the start, at their founding. They
Right.
went ahead and did it.
Well, and they knew that and may have been you that told me this, that as well as the company does, on the public market, the charity does as well too.
Yeah. Okay, so that's out of the way. I know you can't root for either side, but did either one of the two come across as good guys in all of this?
I mean, not terribly. On the stand, Altman was a little more reserved, as everyone sort of expected. Musk
Yeah.
was much feistier, as everyone expected. But what was interesting to me, I mean, look, I have to remove myself from this because I cover these guys. But in jury selection, and this is a cross section of people from Oakland, which, by the way, is my hometown.
Yeah.
I'd be the first to tell you that Oakland is not these guys' peers, right? And I'm a proud native. But almost to a person, they had mistrust of both of these guys, Altman and especially Musk. And they said that out loud. And each person was asked by the lawyers, but can you at least, fairly judge them in a court of law? And they said, yeah, I can, but I don't like them. I don't trust them. They're billionaires, blah, blah, blah. And that was really interesting. And I think it's part of the backlash that I think you're going to hear about for a while. I was just at a college graduation. People are booing any mention of AI at these college graduations because young people feel like, hey, it's taking our jobs too. And there's a lot of mistrust. The tide has turned against AI, I would say.
Well, wait till these guys make their $1 trillion plus valuations
Right.
this week or next week. When are they going public? When exactly is SpaceX going public and when is OpenAI?
We have a better idea on SpaceX because that machine has started to go. They've got a
Right.
ticker symbol. They're already in there.
Did they go? Did they announce today or are they going to do it tomorrow?
They announced officially Wednesday, actually,
Okay.
that they are officially filed and the ticker symbol is in place. They'll probably go in a few weeks. So early to mid-June is the guess. For OpenAI, they haven't done that filing yet. So it's going to be a little while. But the wheels are definitely in motion on SpaceX. And maybe by the time people hear this, OpenAI will have put those wheels in motion too. That's expected, but it hasn't yet happened as of Thursday night.
Having written a book years ago about going public, I was surprised that companies will file like that, but then they'll wait until they can find a propitious moment to go out. And the decision is made 24 to 48 hours ahead. It's kind of an interesting process because they really do a lot of preparation, the road show and all of that, and filing the prospectus, and then they have to wait. It's like doing bingo or something. I mean, it's a very interesting process.
Yeah, it's fun to read the S1, for example. On Wednesday, the S1 for SpaceX came out. And we see where their money is coming from. It's coming from the satellites. We see how much money Twitter is losing. We see that XAI is a big cash drain. And you wonder, do other AI companies have the same problem? This is an interesting now amalgamation of Musk companies together. And I'm guessing it won't affect the appetite for this stock, which is going to be off the charts.
One of the interesting things about the SpaceX documents, prospectus, is they're making billions of dollars selling AI operations to Anthropic, which is a competitor. I mean, how many times in history have you seen one company making billions of dollars off its direct competitor?
Well, I mean, you can point to the whole Apple and Google relationship for one thing.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is we're seeing that a lot these days with AI. These companies that are feeding each other and investing in each other and buying each other's things. And it feels like they're all sort of boosting each other up. And
yeah, like a Ponzi scheme, like we've always kind of thought might be happening.
Yeah, and you wonder how long can that last before some of them run out of money or go away or whatever, and who's left standing?
Well, Anthropic is preparing to settle that lawsuit against authors for, I imagine, a very large sum of money on top of this. So, they've obviously got money to burn. They have a good cash flow, apparently.
Yeah, they have a crazy valuation. And I think not only will they settle that case, I'm guessing they end up finding some common ground with the government, and maybe even having the administration take a stake in Anthropic, which, if you ask any Intel shareholder, can really pay big dividends.
Yeah, and since the government has chosen Anthropic Claude over Chat GPT, it might be a next step. The government could justify making the investment in Anthropic.
Well, we'll see, because remember, they banned Anthropic, and that's what this lawsuit back and forth is over. Anthropic trying to get back in some of the government good graces. We'll see what happens, but Anthropic, with or without the Trump administration, is a powerhouse right now.
Yeah, and apparently the Trump administration is putting up $1 billion to invest in AI companies. Did you?
Yeah, they announced today? Some sort of a fund, right? And I mean, it just adds fuel to an already big fire of just crazy money that's been going into AI. Yeah. And at the same time, there's this backlash because people are seeing their jobs taken away. And, money is money and investment is investment. But at some point, if you're the most hated guy in town, you're going to have to turn that reputation around somehow.
Yeah, and there's also talk about the government investing in quantum computing.
Yes, that came out Thursday morning.
Which is obviously against China, because China seems to be in the lead in that area.
Well, isn't this kind of how AI went from a simmering technology to a booming technology? Was America saying, we've got to lead and beat China to this stuff, and let's invest in it. And so everybody did. And, that's kind of one of the ways that technologies, well, whether militarily or economically, grow, is because we're worried about another country that we're competing against.
Okay, so let's talk about companies going public. We have SpaceX yesterday, Wednesday, and will probably trade open at $1.4 trillion, which would be, I guess, the largest IPO valuation ever. And then it's expecting to go higher than that. And then OpenAI is reported preparing to do so confidentially. And then Anthropic, to bring that up again, might have its first profitable quarter and be preparing for going public too. That would be $3 trillion companies. Capitalized at more than $1 trillion each. And with SpaceX, more than twice that, maybe 3 times that before the day's over.
Well, these companies are staying private for so long and growing that, it's kind of a new ball game. It's not where, the Ciscos of the world become the most valuable company at $300 or $400 billion. NVIDIA is a $5.5 trillion company. And these one-time startups that have grown and grown and grown and have brought so much investment on board, when they go public, I think we're going to see some $1 trillion IPOs.
And some $1 trillion people too.
Well, maybe one. Yeah.
Yeah. So 99% chance, well, they filed now for SpaceX, 92% chance on the prediction markets that will file for an IPO this year. And Anthropic, at currently 69% odds it will officially go public this year. So, going to be an interesting fall, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's some concern that it could literally, these giant companies going public could actually distort the public markets. And one person who was head of one of these exchanges said, there's about $19 trillion out there in shares on the markets. So we had 200 something IPOs 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So having 4 or 5 large ones this year won't really affect the market, but it's got to affect it in some way. Those are blockbusters.
That's what I was wondering. The NASDAQ is a weighted index. And, if a SpaceX goes at like $1.5 or $2 trillion, that's got to carry a lot of weight. But then again, it's not weighted as high as Nvidia or Apple or Google, at least not yet.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fall if all three of them go out and they start taking off. I mean, the market seems to be not even hesitating about all these companies doing this well and getting these high valuations. And you and I have been scared about it, and yet it's still going strong. Why is it? Why is it that? Is it the market's just bored and wants another opportunity, or is it something else?
I mean, I think there's just an insatiable appetite for AI-related companies, and that category is starting to expand. It was chips. Chips were taking all the action. Then it became chips and software, memory. Gosh, look at the SanDisks in the world and the Microns. They're just going crazy. It was sort of like when crypto really took off. At first, it was Bitcoin, but then all these other coins. At some point, AI has to reach a limit, and we'll figure out just how profitable it can be, if it can be profitable. But what it feels like now is just a gold rush of everybody hoping that the companies they're investing in are indeed the rivers that have the gold in them,
or they can get out in time. That they can get a warning signal before everybody else. And,
I mean, somebody just bought SanDisk at 1,400. Earlier this year, they bought it at 30. So those are two different people sitting on their stock right now.
Okay, on a whole different matter, you're a Warriors fan, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Okay, and did you read that Apple TV is going to start broadcasting its first major professional live sporting events entirely on their iPhone 17 Pro?
Yeah, this makes sense.
Those long waits for the speaker to show up at some press event, you can sit there and watch the game.
I mean, this is the next small step in what has been the tech sort of takeover, the streaming tech takeover of sports. You see it on Amazon, you see it on Netflix, you see it everywhere pretty much. And it makes sense because if you can have a streaming game on Amazon or on Netflix, you've got it on a streaming device wherever you go on your mobile. So, we've seen baseball games. I believe the Giants are on Apple TV. So it's already happening, and none of this surprises me. Some of the experiences, I will say, are more entertaining and satisfying than others, but everything is going to be tried as we just go more and more mobile and more streaming.
Well, basketball has a rectangular court, and baseball has, those little tiny figures out there in center field. They're going to be really tiny on a phone, on an iPhone. I'll wager this will drive adoption of the folding screens.
Maybe, and we're waiting for that from Apple. Not a bad call.
Yeah, because you can watch a movie kinda on a small screen because there's a plot and there's big action and there's dialogue. But baseball, you really want to follow that triple going out to right field where it's a pixel dot that's a baseball. No, you got to have something bigger, and I bet Apple's putting all this together, and we'll see the result. But I think they have a strategy that's not just folding screens.
We'll see.
Okay, and finally, before I let you go, Waymo. Waymo has paused its Atlanta service because it turns out robotaxis keep driving into floods. And they've addressed this a couple times, but now they're really going to see what they can do about it because it's no longer anecdotal. I mean, there's videos of Waymo cars going right into a flooded street and, keep dying. Battery dying, generator dying. So is this something they should have thought of? Or is this another one of those anomalies you got to experience 100 million miles of driving to actually see this one occur?
Yeah, I think it's probably the second one. They probably figured, we can get through a small puddle, but Waymos are still developing. They're developing faster than any of the other guys, and so it is. I was always sort of wondering what it would be like to take a robo taxi in just really, really bad weather, the kind of weather you don't want to drive in anyway. Would
Yeah.
you feel somehow safer if you're being driven by a robot? I don't know.
I think it would terrify the hell out of me if the windshield wipers weren't going and it was just a whiteout and you're inside this box.
That's exactly my point. You wouldn't need windshield wipers for a safe ride, and yet you'd be thinking, "Oh my God, I can't see out the front window." But windows are going to be maybe a thing of the past soon. Who knows?
Well, apparently they're going to work with the U.S. Weather Service to get predictions. But when you have a flash flood or you have a real bad downpour, the Weather Service is not going to be much help except for a couple hours. And during those couple hours, how are you going to know how deep something is? I actually have a family member that was driving down a coastal route in Oregon, and already had been there several times and had seen water in the road and assumed that, oh, it's okay, right until the water started rising inside the cab of the car because it was 3 feet deep, not 3 inches deep. And I don't know how you detect that even with robotic cameras.
Right. So if the human brain is sometimes fooled, which it is, what is the Turing test on a body of water? I mean, how does a computer even know? It's a great question.
Okay, well, that's it for now. We'll see you all next week. You can see Scott, of course, on NBC Bay Area and on Facebook, Meta, and on Twitter. Twitter. I keep saying Twitter.
We all do.
Yeah, we all do. And you can see me wherever, BBC usually. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.